How's it going, guys? For the first time in my Path of Exile history, I spent some time farming burial chambers for doctor cards with my buddy Donors. After dropping 6 doctor cards in our first 66 maps, many people became very curious as to what exactly we were doing. This video is going to explain everything we did in detail. For the last batch of 108 maps that we ran, we recorded the entire mapping session, and rather than selling things as we went, we gathered everything together to do a full cost analysis, and I will be going over that as well. There are timestamps in the video description, and to this point we have dropped 13 doctor cards in 329 maps using this strategy. We are making use of the new Delirium Orbs added in the Delirium League, and we have tested a lot of things out with the Delirium Orbs. At first we attempted to do 100% delirious T14 burial chambers, and we found the difficulty of these maps to be rather absurd. The maps were taking us anywhere from 8 to 12 minutes to complete, and they were very stressful. So then we tried to do 80% delirium maps instead, and it was a night and day difference. We were able to cut our time in maps in half by dropping from 100% to 80% delirious. That is not to say that these maps are easy. They are far from it. However, we are playing very optimized builds. Donors is playing a Herald stacking Ascendant with around 400 exalts of investment using ethereal knives and a headhunter. I am playing a much more min-max version of my Archmage Indigon Stormbrand build. If you would like to see an updated build guide on that, hit the subscribe button. Now, I cannot recommend enough that if you are going to copy this farming strategy, you should do so with at least a 2-man party. When you run delirious maps, the delirium rewards drop every time you fill the rewards bar, and these rewards will drop on top of the map owner. In this case, that is me. I have to stop frequently to loot items at my feet. So it makes sense that Donor's build is more focused on clear speed and mine is focused more on single target. This gives me the freedom to loot everything without constantly dying to delirium on death effects. If I were playing by myself, I would have to clear the map and then make a second pass to loot everything, or I would constantly die while looting. So having 2 players speeds things up substantially. Early on for Kosis, Omniphobia, or the map boss, I would stop looting and kill them, though at this point we both face roll everything. A very optimized loot filter is highly recommended as well, but I will not be going over that specifically in this video. We were constantly asked how we were rolling our maps, and there's a lot to go over here, so I will go over the entire process from rolling this batch of maps. Here are all 108 maps, and the first step is to make sure they are all normal maps, which I already did. Next is to chisel all of the maps to 20%. If you are farming for divination cards and not chiseling your maps, you are making a mistake, as this gives 20% item quantity innately. Next, I alch all of the maps and begin the process of filtering out all maps that have increased item quantity of 60 or 70%, and I scour them. I will repeat this process until all maps are 80% quantity or higher. After this, I will search the stash tab for any map mods we do not want to run. In this case, any maps with Reflect, less recovery rate, no mana regeneration, or monsters fire 2 additional projectiles. I also check the hexproof maps to make sure they're not ridiculous. These maps are scoured, and the process from before is repeated again until all maps are above 80% item quantity. Then the mods are checked again until all maps are 80% quantity and without the mods we do not want to run. If you put this much effort into rolling your maps, then when you are running them, you do not need to worry about what is rolled on the maps at all. You just put them in and go. We do not corrupt the maps, as the next step is to apply Delirium Orbs to all of them. You can do this first, as you can still re-roll the maps after applying Delirium Orbs, but you cannot apply Delirium Orbs to corrupted maps. And with this much investment into the maps, we did not want to brick any of them with Vol Orbs. I will go over all the different types of Delirium Orbs in a few minutes, but we will Delirium Orb the maps to 80% Delirium. Here I have enough singular Delirium Orbs to apply 2 to each map, as well as a large amount of Timeless and some Portentous Delirium Orbs. I applied 2 singular orbs to each map so that it spreads out the Timeless Delirium Orbs. If I applied 4 Timeless Delirium Orbs to a single map, the map would drop more incubators than I could pick up with a single portal, so you want to spread the juicy ones out. Once all of the maps are 80% Delirium, it is time to start organizing the maps in a quad stash tab. I grabbed 24 maps, as that will fill a single column of the stash tab, then 24 Scarabs to go alongside them. I already have the 3 types of prophecies we will be using already organized in the stash tab, those being Plague of Rats, Any Tempests, and Bountiful Traps. The goal here is to line up all the maps with the scarabs that will be run with that map to speed things up. The scarabs we are using are polished breach scarabs, polished divination scarabs, rusted elder scarabs, and polished ambush scarabs. We use polished scarabs because they are generally much easier to acquire in the bulk quantities we need, and they are also more cost efficient for what they provide in comparison to the gilded versions. For example, polished ambush scarabs can be purchased in bulk for 4 or 5 chaos, giving 4 strongboxes each, roughly 1 chaos per strongbox. Gilded ambush scarabs in bulk are at least 10 chaos for 5 strongboxes, increasing the cost per strongbox to 2 chaos each. It's just not worth it. We found this combination of scarabs to be the most efficient to run. We began using Harbinger scarabs but came to the conclusion that they were slowing our maps down too much. Breaches also slow down map clear speed, but in almost all cases they will add more monsters to the maps than Harbingers. You can also clear the map as you clear the breach, further adding to the beyond procs. The same with ambush scarabs. The most opportune time to open them is when they are on the edge of a breach. Ambush scarabs also pair well with the sextants that give additional boons to strongboxes. You could also make an argument for Legion scarabs, but we avoided these mostly because at the time, Legions would spawn unkillable monsters, making looting very difficult, but this has been patched. The Elder Scarabs add monsters to the maps regardless of the scarab rarity, and they are cheap. Once everything is organized in the stash tabs, there is one final step. That is to pull out any maps with Nemesis rolled on them and place them at the end. This is so that if you hit the Nemesis monsters drop additional currency items sextant, you can pull the maps from here. Now we are ready to go. You can apply sextants, then pull out the third map down and place sextants where that map was to track when to apply new sextants. When grabbing the next maps, you also right-click all 3 types of prophecies to make sure all 3 are activated. Before we look at the loot from this batch of maps, I want to go over the different types of Delirium Orbs. In every map with this setup, you will be getting 9 or 10 procs of the Delirium rewards in every map. Purchasing Delirium Orbs in bulk for a batch of maps this size are also more expensive than PoE Ninja would indicate. The most expensive Delirium Orbs are Skittering and Diviners. A Skittering Delirium Orb will drop 2 or 3 Scarabs at every reward proc. So you will be picking up 20 to 30 Scarabs per orb per map if you run these. If you run 4 of these on a map, you will need to leave the map twice to offload full inventories of Scarabs, not factoring in any other loot from the map. If you want Scarabs, this is a great way to get them, but in my opinion, it is far too micromanagement intensive. It is also fairly easy to purchase Scarabs in bulk. Diviner's Orbs will drop lots of divination cards as well as stacked decks. Without a very strict loot filter, you will run into the same inventory issues as with Skittering Orbs. You will get a decent amount of the cost back through stacked decks, but beyond that, these orbs are a gamble. Fine Delirium Orbs will drop currency, and if you run enough of them, you will see Exalts drop. In my experience, for the cost per Fine Delirium Orb, you will break even on the cost. Thaumaturge's orbs will drop leveled gems with the chance to drop something valuable, but this is also a gamble I think best to avoid. That being said, I have seen a level 4 Enlighten drop from one of these. Next on the list are Cartographer's Delirium Orbs. These drop maps based on their base tier, worthless maps, and they also have the ability to drop Shaper and Elder fragments. However, these fragments will not drop in T14 maps, making them a waste to run on burial chambers. The same goes for fragmented Delirium Orbs. They also have the potential to drop Shaper and Elder fragments, but not in T14 maps. We actually ran a large amount of fragmented Delirium Orbs on our first batch, and the best fragments that dropped were Mortal Fragments for Ubrat Siri. Avoid Cartographers and fragmented Delirium Orbs when farming burial chambers. Blighted Orbs will drop oils and occasionally blighted maps. We never specifically ran these, and I see no case in which these are worth the price unless you want blighted maps. Foreboding Orbs can drop T15 beachheads in T14 maps, along with a decent amount of Exalted Shards to cover the cost. Obscured Orbs will drop stacks of Breach Splinters and very often complete Breach Stones, including charged, enriched, and even pure Breach Stones. They will also drop blessings. These orbs, in addition to simulacrums, have run the value of breachstones into the ground, and I only recommend running these if you want the breachstones for yourself for easy XP. Fossilized orbs will drop a lot of fossils. We ran a large amount of these, and an overwhelming majority of the fossils you will get from these will be the low-tier fossils that are worth little and difficult to sell. You will occasionally get 4-socket resonators as well. All of these are decent choices with interesting drops. Now for the hidden gems, mainly the timeless Delirium Orbs. Every reward proc of these will drop a stack of 3 to 5 Legion Splinters and a lot of Incubators. I will show you how valuable these are when I go over the loot from our batch of maps. We also ran a lot of Singular Orbs. These drop uniques at every reward tier with what I would estimate to be a 1 in 20 chance for the reward to drop a legacy unique. We got lots of valuable uniques from these, but we're mainly hoping for a headhunter to drop. The only other Delirium Orb of note I want to mention are the Portentous Orbs. These drop prophecies and are a great way to stock up on Plague of Rats and Tempests, though not as reliable on the Bountiful Traps. Prophecies are difficult to purchase in bulk. We mitigated this by running a large amount of these orbs. The rest of the Delirium Orbs drop nothing of great value and can be purchased for much cheaper if all you want to do is push the Delirium percentage higher. If you're looking to get value out of the Delirium Orbs in any way, the rest of these should be avoided. Here's the loot from the 108 maps we rolled. The loot from rushing the bosses and the Conqueror and Guardian maps along the way is also included here. We spawned 14 Conquerors with 3 serious kills, 7 Guardian maps, and 1 Distant Memory. We had 9 Pure Exalts dropped, and we gathered 41 Divine Orbs. Roughly 15 of these came from Tabula Rasa drops, and many more from Corrupted Sixlinks that dropped from the Corrupted Strongboxes or unique enemies drop Corrupted Items Sextants. We did not leave the map to vendor 6 sockets. If we fill our inventory, that's all we grabbed. Due to the low value of fusings in Delirium League, we found it more efficient from a currency per hour standpoint to throw in the next map rather than picking up all of the 6-socket items. We also made a point to pick up raw alterations that dropped, as they are currently more valuable than fusings or alchemy orbs. I could not see alchemy orbs or regret orbs on my filter. All of these that were gathered were looted by donors. Chromes were only picked up when they dropped in stacks greater than 1. The massive amount of silver coins came from the use of the Portentous Delirium Orbs. We did not pick up individual Simulacrum Splinters. We only picked up the stacks Kosis, Omniphobia, and the map boss dropped, and whatever splinters dropped in the Conqueror or Guardian maps if the Delirium was even run. We did not make a point to maximize splinter drops in the Conqueror maps. We rushed the bosses, killing what was along the way, and also got a Crusader's Exalted Orb. The next tab is filled with miscellaneous stuff that dropped. All Scarabs were obtained when the random added reward dropped Scarabs. We also got a few fossil rewards in this way, but most of these fossils came from incubators. We only used the fossilized and infused incubators that dropped along the way. The item level of incubators matters, and we were getting item level 81 incubators from the timeless Delirium Orbs. I cannot speak for all item levels of incubators, but item level 81 fossilized incubators drop a very good amount of the mid-tier fossils. You can see we got 10 sanctified fossils, 6 encrusted, 5 gilded, 8 lucent, and so on. These fossils are difficult to find even in Delve. The item level 81 infused incubators will 100% drop a Remnant of Corruption, a Shrieking Essence, or one of the 4 special essences. We were very selective about the prophecies that we picked up. The majority of the prophecies here are Plague of Rats, Plague of Frogs, Tempests, and Bountiful Traps. We got a Golden Oil, and here are the timeless splinters that we gathered from the Delirium Orbs. A very small fraction of these splinters came from Legion encounters in the maps. In the next tab we have the valuable unique items that dropped. We were using 2 singular Delirium Orbs on every map, so we saw a lot of uniques. A lot, as in like 50 to 100 uniques per map. The big value drops that we got were the Shavs, Call the Brotherhood, Intuitive Leap, 2 Hollow Palm Jewels, and 5 Prism Guardian Shields. We picked up lots of unique jewels to corrupt, and we hit a Fevered Mind and a Mana Reservation Hazardous Research. So sad that as rare as the Void Battery and Impulses are, they're worth next to nothing in this league. The next tab has all of the maps. The maps we had favorited were the maps we were likely to get the most value from selling from each region, knowing that T14 maps were not likely to drop. We have Burial Chambers, Arid Lake, Terrace, Beach, Park, Tropical Island, Lair, and Palace. The maps connected to Burial Chambers drop very frequently from the map boss, these being Wasteland, Mesa, and Graveyard. The rest were various maps, and all corrupted white maps were deleted. The unique maps that drop from the singular Delirium Orb rewards always drop at their lowest tier. The boss dropped 6 Guardian maps. 1 came from Xena, and the Minotaur fragment dropped from the Delirium in a Phoenix map. In total, we averaged just under 4.5 map drops per map. The next tab has the divination cards and some of the incubators that will be sold. If there is a weak part of my loot filter, it is the number of divination cards that show up, as many of these are worth nothing. We got 28 of the Lucky Deck cards, 1 of the Queen and 2 Sephiroth cards from Strongboxes. We got 17 of the Betrayal cards, which are about 40 chaos each, and we only got 1 Doctor in this batch of 108 maps. Based on our average number of Doctors leading up to this batch, we were hoping for 4, but nonetheless, we are now at 13 Doctors in 329 of these maps, which is an average of 1 out of every 25 maps so far. The Diviner's Incubators will easily sell in bulk for 5 chaos each, and the Ornate Incubators for 4 chaos each. In the last tab are the rest of the Incubators. We have 50 Time Lost Incubators, 48 Geomancer's Incubators, 52 Thaumaturge Incubators, as well as many Foreboding and Skittering Incubators. All of these will be sold. Remaining are what is left over from the infused and fossilized incubators we did not use. So now let's look at how much everything was worth. I sold everything off before finishing this video, so the values of things may have changed. The spreadsheet is in the video description. On the overview sheet is a breakdown of everything we used on these maps, including a list of the sextants that we re-rolled. This can be used as a cheat sheet if you wish to copy this strategy. On the left side is the total values from the items we picked up, and the big thing to note here is that we made more money from incubators than from anything else. We had a 52 Exalt investment, 157 Exalt value from drops, leaving us with a 105 Exalt profit. That is almost 1 Exalt profit per map, and that is with only 1 Doctor drop in this batch. Without the Doctor drop, we still would have made over 80 Exalts worth of profit because of our choice of Delirium Orbs. There are more detailed breakdowns of everything on separate tabs. The Currency tab calculates the raw chaos value of all currency drops. The Timeless tab shows the value from all of the incubators and Timeless splinters for what they were actually sold for. I also calculated the drop rates of each incubator per Delirium Orb, as well as the average chaos value from only incubators per Delirium Orb, and the total when splinters were factored in as well. We got 42 chaos worth of value from each Timeless Delirium Orb, and we only paid 9 to 12 chaos each for them. Good luck getting them at that rate after people see this. There is a tab showing the prophecies we picked up from the portentous Delirium Orbs we used. Like I mentioned earlier, they are not a guaranteed way to sustain on Bountiful Trap's prophecies. They dropped a substantial amount of silver coins as well, which we did not turn in, but we would have gotten more useful prophecies from those. The Maps tab breaks down the value of the bulk maps that we dropped from the favorited maps or connected maps from the boss. I did not bother to list all of the other assorted maps out and gave them an estimate of 5 chaos value each. We actually made more from selling these maps than is indicated here. The Miscellaneous tab breaks down the fossils and essences from the incubators we used, other random things, uniques, and divination cards. Check it out for yourself if you would like to investigate it further. Again, the link is in the description. I think that covers everything. The updated Stormbrand build guide will be out soon. This is one of the most powerful builds in the game that does not abuse Herald stacking. Click subscribe and ring the notification bell to make sure you do not miss that. Click a thumb button, and thanks for watching.